Will you adapt or decay? Last video I made was about all the things impacting, male and female health, and especially fertility. And so, you know, throughout all of, world history, I guess, the however many billion years we've been here, Earth, not we, I meant like life. I think it's like 4 billion years is Earth. Um, or maybe that's the sun, I don't know. But fundamentally, natural selection is still very much a thing. Honestly, I'd say more a thing now in our current uh, area. Like it's not going away. It's just kind of in a different form. I guess maybe you're not necessarily fighting for your life, but you're fighting for your health. And so these are some of the huge things that I think are how humans are being naturally selected to be included in the next generation of genes or not. Um, and so the first one is basic health and fertility in kids. And so, first of all, is being healthy and fertile enough to have children, which is huge in and of itself and a major battle for every person nowadays with all the things that I talked about in the previous video. And so, I mean, me wanting to be a father someday, um, focusing on my health is huge for that reason. And there's so many reasons to focus on your health, but that is also like a big one. And, all these people who are having to take IVF or even who are unable to have children, straight up infertile, like they're just getting wiped out of the gene pool. And not to sound like superficial about that, like, of course, that's not, the only thing that matters in your life. Of course, we are animals and humans, but like, I don't necessarily think our purpose is entirely just to pass on the next generation. I think that is a huge purpose, though. I think a huge purpose of life is to continue that life. And so, personally, I would like to have children and I would like to raise them up well and send them into the future because I think the future is very optimistic and I think the future of humanity is amazing. And so, I want to, raise up beautiful children with my wife and with my and my brother and his kids and my sister and her kids and just have a really big family as I had as a child. And I think that's just beautiful in and of itself, really, but also the fact that you kind of get to pass it on. You know, what really else do you get to pass on in life except for your children? Your children are the extension of you pretty much. And so, yeah, sure, you could just, get with someone and, travel the world and have a nice life together. Like, sure, that's great, but I think what's better is to have and raise great children, um, because they get to kind of continue on, maybe not necessarily your legacy, but certainly like your bloodline, or I don't really know how to say it, but I think it's just beautiful and it's great to give on, especially since you've been given it. Like, I think it's kind of stupid or short-sighted for people to be born, raised, and then say, nah, I don't really want to pass that on. Like, you're basically saying kind of, I wasn't, um, you're basically saying like, I wish I wasn't born. I kind of, by not wanting to have kids. It's just a bit interesting, but obviously I have no problem with those people. Like you can do whatever you want. It's just kind of my opinion on it. Um, but also the big reason about kids is that a major reason that societies collapse is because of this cycle of hard of hard times create strong men create easy times create weak men, and weak men create hard times. And it's just this perpetual cycle. And it's how big kingdoms and uh, countries, etc., have risen and fallen over the years, whether it's the Roman Empire, whether it's the Egyptians, whether it's the Mongolian Empire, or you know, pretty much what's happening to the US right now, what's pretty much already happened or still happening with Great Britain. Um, and So, like, one of the major things you really need to do is be able to raise really great, strong children, strong in mind, strong in body, strong in spirituality, really be able to raise strong children in easy times. Because as life has gone on, life has only gone easier for us. I live a king's life compared to people hundreds of years ago. Um, and so, like, I believe my parents have raised me well, and I really need to make sure that I raise my children very well, and that children raised up in the future of humanity in general should be raised well, or else we get pretty much what we've gotten today in our society, which is basically no moral connection, no cultural cohesion, um, major pessimism instead of optimism, no one really caring about the community. And I think that's because um, we're in this cycle of weak men, men and women, obviously, but weak men creating hard times. And the US and other Western countries are going down in that sense. Not entirely, but to very much a degree. And so being able to have kids, being fertile, being healthy is a huge way to, adapt and be, that's the point of natural selection. It's just the ones that adapt and are best fit for the environment survive. And being healthy, strong of mind, body, and spirit are definitely huge parts for being um, able to adapt and be good. Second is raising up good kids. Again, I'm kind of also talking about humanity adapting. If you don't raise good kids, like first of all, it's not really going to be fun for you as a as a parent. And then second of all, your kids are just not going to be able to then raise up good kids themselves. And so you're kind of creating the first creating the generation that is going to like put humanity down a hole. And obviously not humanity as a whole. Obviously there will be people who keep humanity up and rising as we have throughout these thousands of years, but I would like that to be the descendants of myself. I would like to, have a good bloodline throughout the future. Um, and it's not like superficial like that. It's obviously I want to enjoy my time now, like I've said. But just having and raising up good kids is huge and definitely a big, part of natural selection. And also a huge thing is a lot of the things that you do now with your health affect the health of your children. And so that is so huge. Another way to make my children a lot better, stronger, healthier, smarter, things like that, is to be healthy myself and get my epigenome as best as possible, and then that of my wife, um, and have children the best way, through natural births, breastfeeding, things like that. Um, and so that's a huge one. Second one for are you going to adapt or decay is scents, chemicals, plastics, all of the things in the toxin section that I kind of talked about in the previous video. Like I said, most people don't even know about this stuff. And when they hear about it, they laugh about it. And those are the people who are going to turn infertile, and those are the people who are going to turn out to be infertile, not be able to have kids, have super bad brain fog, not be able to pursue anything they want in life, be immobile, die really young, get these bad diseases, have to be on all these medications from these massive drug corporations. And so that is why I want to be very aware of these things. I don't want to be ignorant. Um, and I'm willing to look reality in the face and accept it, even if it's hard to accept, even if I have to change so many things about my life, wear different clothes, eat different foods, you know, use different products, things of that sort. I'm willing to do it because those are all so superficial things. And also when you get back to, you know, nature, real foods, real fabrics, real scents, you just feel a lot better and life is a lot more bright. And so, that's a major thing I see in the future, or currently right now, where people are going to either adapt or decay. And many people are decaying right now. Many people are having very bad health outcomes. Many people are being infertile or needing IVF. Um, and so it's literally natural selection en masse with these people being ignorant of their own choices and of the environment around them. On the one hand, I think that all of these things have been just all these bad things, plastic clothing, all these chemicals and all these products, all these bad food has just been created because, we are inherently in a capitalist society. And although I believe that is best, and, you can go into the nuance of the economics, but um, capitalism does, have you try to make things as productive as possible and reuse things like plastics and make things as cheap as possible and as best as possible. And by best, I don't mean best for humans, I mean best for the purpose of the product. And so if you want your clothes to be wrinkle free and not get stained or not get water on them or fats on them or smell really good, right, you can get all those things, but it's going to come at a cost. And I have really gone into understanding that cost when a lot of people don't. Um, and that cost is your biology and your health and the health of being fertile and being able to pass that on to the future. Um, so part of me thinks that all these bad things are just a um, product of kind of capitalism. And not that I'm saying capitalism is bad. I'm just saying like that's a product of it. And then secondly, um, on the other hand, it could also be people doing it kind of on purpose to mass natural select the population and get the the healthiest people out of it, which is dark, but could also be a true, or could be a combination where at first it was kind of just it came about, but people realized what it was doing and then kind of just didn't care about it because it's just going to result in natural selection of the population, which I think is very dark, but could be happening. Or people are just consumed by the money that they're making by all this stuff, and so they don't really care. Um, so yeah, infertility in kids, scents, chemicals, plastics, all these toxins in our environment that people aren't aware of. And the huge thing is like people are not aware of it, and so they're being naturally selected, like unbeknownst to their knowledge. Like they think that we live in this world where everyone has healthcare, everyone can be healthy. We're a lot healthier than we have been in the past. True, but also not true. I think we're worse off than we have been in the past in terms of health. Um, Better in many ways, but worse in many ways as well. Um, and so, yeah, people are just going to be selected out of the gene pool. Then you have next. I have muscle and VO2 max. So these are the two most biggest important things that predict your mortality. So how long you live is most accurately predicted. The most accurately predictive stats of how long you live are how much muscle you have and your VO2 max. So obviously this is why exercise is huge. And it's not simply the fact that you have a lot of muscle, right? It's not like, oh, just take steroids because then you have a lot of muscle and you live longer. No, it's because of the actions that you need to do daily that allow you to have a good amount of musculature and a high VO2 max, right? You need to be having good sleep to have good muscles and a good VO2 max. Like you need to be eating healthy and eating enough protein to be able to do that. You need to be exercising basically daily and getting in a lot of movement to be able to do that. So to be able to have and maintain a good amount of muscle for your body and also have a very good cardiovascular system, um, and a high VO2 max and very good lungs, like those are just, they're very predictive because they show or they are reflective of certain habits that you need to have pretty much. But based on that, you know, in the circles that I'm in, lifting or doing resistance training and doing cardio or VO2 max training is a big part of it, right? And it will always be a big part of my life because of what I'm talking about here. But for the vast majority of people, it is not. Um, and so this is what I'm saying, where you either adapt or you decay. And so for the people that it's not, you're just not going to have as good outcomes in your life in all the areas. Because like this doesn't muscle and VO2 max, it doesn't just affect like your body or the way that you look. It's all about the way that you function, the way that you move, the way that you metabolize your food, the way that you think. Um, and I think the brain part is kind of the biggest reason. The reason that people can be the reason that a lot of people who are physically strong, physically fit are also very strong mentally is because of that connection. And some of the biggest reasons that I exercise is so that I can get my brain to be good. Because what do you really have other than your brain? Um, like without your brain and a strong mind, like you're kind of nothing. And so that is kind of the biggest thing that I need to protect. So that's another one. You're going to either adapt or you're going to decay in that sense. And another huge one, especially now with all this AI stuff, and just with the internet before that, is critical thinking. Um, like I said, your brain is kind of the most important part of you, and it kind of is you to a degree. And so with all of this AI stuff coming out where you can create things or recreate things as much as you want, like being able to think critically and be able to converse with a artificial intelligence, and be able to make decisions on what you think is right and wrong, or like a good path to go down and a bad path to go down, and having good rational thinking and not being persuaded by emotional arguments, like that is so huge. um, and that's a lot of the reasons why people can be pushed away from some of the good and you know good and basic things about this stuff. Like I talk about infertility and having kids, and people will talk about how like I'm a bad person for talking about that stuff or some of the things that I say. But and same thing with like the sense chemicals in plastic. Like I can tell people to, watch out for the clothes that you're wearing. It's made of plastic. It's going to affect you in this way and this way. And they'll hit me back with, but like I want to wear what I want to wear and things like that. Like it's just a shirt. Like you can find a cotton shirt that you like and enjoy, or any other, natural fabric. It doesn't have to be, you know, and like um you can find tight workout shorts or tight workout it's not pants. What am I thinking of? Tights or whatever. Uh Leggings to wear to the gym that are not made of plastic. Um, but it's like people are so emotionally connected to these things, and especially men have got become a lot more feminine in that way of being persuaded by these emotional arguments instead of with rationality. Because when you realize how bad these things are affecting not only your health, but the health of those around you and the ones that you love and your future and your kids, it affects you in a different way, and you start to actually take action towards it. Um, And so, yeah, being a critical thinker is only going to be explode in the future, with how important that is. And it's going to like this AI stuff. And in the future, where people get more and more leverage, it's just going to build a bigger and bigger gap between those who can think critically and have agency and act, and those who are just a sheep and following the crowd and things of that sort. Another one's probably just your morals. So probably those who have good morals, um, are spiritually grounded, are going to live longer. They're going to have a purpose. Um, and yeah, they're not going to, die off before they have a good life or have children and pass on their wisdom and their genes. Um, so yeah, it's a big one. And then the last one I think I'll talk about is well, another one that's kind of similar to critical thinking is taste. So I guess they're kind of similar, but taste is also more like a nuanced thing of what you like and dislike, what you think is beautiful, what you think is worth pursuing. That's a big one, especially as AI just recreates a bunch of things. Um, you have to be able to differentiate what you think is good or bad. And then the last one I'll talk about is connection, human connection. Again, you see a lot of, I don't know if dichotomy is the right word, but a lot of paradoxes in the modern world where, we're more connected than ever with all these social medias and stuff, yet we are um, more lonely than ever because we're not actually spending physical time with each other and building up good relationships. And so, a huge one where people are going to adapt or decay is if they have good, solid relationships. You can't go about life alone. Sure, you can do certain things in the modern world alone because, like, we've allowed that to happen, but we are social animals, we're social creatures. We need to have really good relationships, not only to, not only intimate relationships to reproduce and have children, but all sorts of relationships with a group of brothers that you guys are really close together and talk about really deep problems and points and um, attack certain things in life together, build certain things. Um, just a family, a nice close family unit. Like that's how I grew up with my grandparents, other grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins. Like growing up in a multi-age family was huge for my development personally. And like I want to give that to my children. And so having like great friends, great family, making those relationships strong, making sure everyone's healthy, things of that sort is huge. And that's kind of what I care about. And so that's what I kind of mean when I talk about you can either adapt or decay. Personally, I want to be aware. I don't want to be ignorant. I want to adapt because kind of what other choice is there? I mean, I guess like I said, the point of life, and I'm not going to go too deep into like my philosophy on it, but obviously to carry on your genes and have children, but also to kind of reach reach or strive for your potential as a human being and have find love, find joy, find passion, pursue things that you believe are good, push humanity forward, you know, figure out ways to drop the cost of energy and to make healthcare a lot better and to make food a lot better. There's so many things we can do on Earth with making the farming system better and creating better homes and better ways of getting water to people. And then, Elon Musk is bringing us to space and creating places on the moon, bases on the moon, and creating robots to do all our manual labor for us. Um, and creating cool places on the moon and going to Mars and expanding throughout the whole galaxy. Like there's so many things that we can do as humans um, that we kind of forget about, and that we're so pessimistic about the future when I really think that we should be optimistic. As bad as the Earth is right now, the worse that it gets, all that means is the better we can become and the more that we can fix and the more that we can get better. Like I want to make the world a much better place in terms of getting rid of all these scents and chemicals, getting them out of our environment, getting plastics out of our environment, out of the oceans, out of our clothes, making sure everyone is very healthy and can have kids and is fertile, and making sure that everyone is, you know, having really good habits and is healthy and can kind of do whatever they want to do and express themselves how they want. Um, And so, yeah, I'm optimistic of humans in the future in that sense. And so I personally want to adapt and I want to lead others and inspire others to adapt rather than just sit in front of a screen and decay. Um, and so I hope if you're watching this video, you want to adapt as well. So thank you for watching.